Hi, Chaos. Who else is in here? I can't see that. I gotta change this pattern here. Snook. Pugmania. How you doing? Okay. Platypus. I love that name, Platypus. That used to be, I used to use that all the time as not a safe word. If I say that, people will think, but just like as a tag word. I used to use it as a password sometimes too. Platypus. Hi, Plum Cray Cray. Milo. Mania. First off, before I start, is anyone else currently live, like over on YouTube? Is Becca doing anything, or is Into the Weeds doing anything? Because I don't want to take any views away from anybody that's doing that, especially those guys. I think Becca goes on tomorrow night, live, for her live. I know I just watched one of her videos that she dropped. I mean, there's, guys, oh my goodness, there's so much coming out every day. It's just freaking amazing. It's happening. It's here. It's done. It's happening. Stop clutching your pearls. She's done. All right. I want to make sure I sit so you guys can see the chat. Okay, Alaskan Leo. All right. I just real quick, tomorrow night I can a little bit go over the groups that I have in the database starting for now. It's 10 o'clock. I waited because, like I said, I thought that Into the Weeds was going to go live again because they've been going almost every day. And then this Paris Hilton stuff is still flowing. I'm not caught up on. I guess he did interviews with Nina and somebody else. I guess Shanna was on there. Sheena, however the hell you want to say your name, Scooter Lady. And I think Bree was on again and showed her ass and just got. And then Audrey came on and corrected everything that Bree had said. So I'm catching up on that slowly. But what I wanted to show you, and I forgot to take pictures. Yes, Perez Hilton is going to be advertising for this, but we don't need him. Okay? Here's case in point why we don't need him. The videos he wrote his article about went viral for a reason. Those women that he had on, Into the Weeds, all right, Becca, and he gave them like 5 minutes while he was battling, and he was every time as they're talking, he's constantly breaking to collect his coins and follow everybody that gave him 1,000 whatever. All right, we don't need him. Do you understand that Paris has 90,000 followers? Audrey has 300,000 followers. We don't need these celebrities any more than we need mainstream media. We don't. Do you think the original critics of the JFK assassination needed mainstream media? No, they didn't. They reached the public and they became such an issue that the CIA had to approach mainstream media and make that memo. And they reached the public and they became such an issue that the CIA had to approach mainstream media and make that memo and say, here's how you discredit them. Okay, I'm frozen again. Hold on. Okay, I'm freezing. They're either hitting me, because there's no storm here. It's like 30 degrees. It's comfortable. Hi, Bethy. Hi, KZ. Hi, Witchy. Alif. Okay. Anyway, my point. The original critics didn't need the mass media. They educated the public without them. And they became such an issue that, you now have this Freedom of Information Act. That's why you have it. That's why we have these about Gypsy right now. You can trace it right back to Mae Brussel and Harold Weisberg and the rest of them. So, if you want to learn more about that later, I'm going to do that over on my JFK page. This page here is going to be all about the database. Everything I do over here is going to be educational based, including these lives. All right, tonight I'm going to read a ChatGTP thing that I have that directly, I'm going to take every single bullshit claim defense that Gypsy makes for these videos, and I'm going to take it into ChatGTP, and I'm going to show you why that's going to fall apart. Why we don't have to worry. Why we don't need a Paris Hilton. All of these big celebrity accounts like Paris Hilton and the rest of them, they're going to use this for content. That's all they're doing. They're using this for content. And he's playing both sides, having Ryan up there. And what did Ryan do? I don't know that girl. Yes, you did, Ryan. You were playing with that girl. She was writing stories for you. Sex stories, just like she was doing for Dan Glidewell, just like she was doing for Nick and multiple other men. It's all going to come out that she was doing. Once I have those Facebook accounts and I can trace all her... She had more characters than Ruby and Kitty and Demona and Candy. She had more characters than that. I'll betcha she had a Bella. I'll betcha she used that Emma account under different names. She had the names that she used when she was writing the text stories, the erotic stories in House Eros. That's what she was doing in 2011. She was playing text, storybook, role-play games, because that's what we did. We wrote story, we developed characters. Now, I wasn't in House Eros, but I was in similar types of RSS feeds and LARPing online. Okay, well, LARPing is live action, but MUDs, games online, role-play games online. All right? Hi, Norma. Hi, Renee. Renee, I hope I'm saying your names right. KZ. Yeah, it was very windy today. It was 20 degrees like through the day, but I kept my water on, and it did not freeze. But I'm not even under my electric blanket tonight. It's going back up to 30, and I think it's going to be 40 or 50 tomorrow. I might even go out in the garden tomorrow. Okay, I Plum. Always love to see you. Okay, where was I? Where was I? Because I completely forget my train of thought. Okay. Anyway, this is all going to be educational based over here. All right? Because Gypsy can't stop this. She can't deal with this at all. If she could deal, and the thing about Paris Hilton is he made that all to make money. They need this to make money. We don't, because we're not financially motivated. I'm making 8 cents on my lives. I'll go 5 hours and make 8 cents. So I know Hannah's trying to teach me how to make this profitable, but I don't want to. I really don't. That's not what I'm here for. I want to build the database, and I want to get it out there onto the internet, and I want to follow her around for the rest of her life. That's what I want. Okay? Spent, I related to who? Anyway, tonight, so everything I do over here, that's why I moved all the Gypsy stuff over here, because every time somebody follows me, or somebody talks about me, or tries to discredit me, I want them to look that name, JFK Annie, up. My real name's going to be linked to this. I want them to find the database. Anytime somebody says something about me over here on TikTok, and the audience down there goes, well, who the hell is that? And they search JFK Annie, I want the database to pop up. And then I want them to find this over here. And I want them to come here, and this is going to be an educational resource to teach about what they did in 2016 to teach how they flooded the web with lies. All right? No, I am not Dee Dee's sister. No, please, stop that. I have nothing to do with Dee Dee's family. Months ago, I started a memorial site for Dee Dee called Dee Dee Petrie Sympathy Denied, because Gypsy hogged all the sympathy and the empathy from the public when she created the lies about her mother. Dee Dee was denied the sympathy she deserved from being murdered in her bed like a dog. All right? No, I have nothing to do with the family. Me creating these pages using Claudine's name is not insulting to the family or to Dee Dee, because I get that all the time from Gypsy's side, from Bree and them, that I'm being disrespectful because I use Dee Dee or Claudine's name. No, we are not. We are protecting the legacy of Dee Dee Blanchard. I don't even want to call her Blanchard anymore. I want to call her Dee Dee Petrie, because the minute she took the Blanchard name, her life was hell. I hate calling her Dee Dee Blanchard. Exactly. Bethy, you're doing the job. That's what you all can do. Repost this, share, share, share. Share everyone that's doing the good work. Now, Spent, you might have thought that that was blunt or rude, my response to you. It's not. I don't know you. I've never seen you. I have no idea of knowing if you're a plant here, over here for Gypsy. I have no idea of knowing that. I know that Gypsy's putting people over here. She's sending people over here to troll me or just to monitor me. I know they're outside watching every time I do anything. Hi, Night Owl. Dank Daisy. Okay, well, I have no way of knowing that until you show me who you are. All right? Just because you say, over here in this anti-Gypsy, you know, first off, I don't consider this true crime community at all. I consider this garbage over here. You're not a tight-knit community. You're not a loyal, supportive community. Not at all. Not at all. And Gypsy has used all of you. So, you know, I don't care. Like I said, I don't need followers to do this. I need a couple hundred followers to go live. And I can do that with people that just want to. I've gone viral on a couple of my posts. And so the shopping channels have followed me. I'll just let them follow me. I don't need to share my live. All I need to do over here on TikTok is record this live, come over here, do my thing, you know, educate the public, download it, take it over to YouTube where I can link it everywhere on the web. I don't need to have discussions. I don't need to have panels. I don't need to guest up on lives. I don't need any of it to build what I'm building. All right? I'm going to keep with this. Once I start this, I'm not going to stop it. It's a waste of my time to stop it. I'm going to continue this if it takes me a couple years. Once this is built, it maintains itself. Once I have it filled with all the data, it maintains itself. I don't have to spend every day on it. Once it's built, then I can just share it everywhere. Her name is mentioned on the web. All of you can share it everywhere. The names are mentioned on the web. Okay? And that's how we change the narrative. And let me show you how we've already done that by reading something from ChatGPT. Okay? So I've only got 13 in here. And by the way, I don't want hundreds of people viewing me. I can't keep track of that. If I have hundreds of people in here, I can't keep track of the chat. You know, the people that have hundreds of, you know, you're not being productive or effective. You're just continuing the drama. And I've learned that. So I'm removing myself from that. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just do the work. If you're interested in following the work, then follow me. You know, if you're just here because you're secretly monitoring me for Gypsy, continue to do that. I want Gypsy to see me coming. I really do. I want Gypsy to be the same way that I want Roger Stone to be. I want Gypsy to wake up every day and say, what did that bitch say about me today? What did that bitch post in her database about me today? How am I going to handle what she's doing? How am I going to handle JFK Annie linking her name everywhere? So we can't talk about her because that just advertises for her. How am I going to handle, JFK Annie collecting everybody that's doing good work on me to expose me and putting it in one place and making it available to the public? How am I going to do that? How am I going to handle this bitch? I want her to go to bed every night asking herself how she's going to handle me and handle this and handle all of you. That's what I want. So I want her to see me coming. Do you all get that? Yes, hold on. Yes, Night Owl. That is GRB evidence, and I am in email contact with her. And I put her into the database, and I'm going to keep. She's also got a site on Reddit. It's called GRB Evidence. Okay. She is rebuilding the old site, The Murder of Dee Dee Blanchard, UK. That had all the VisionCon stuff. That had all the bios up, taking through Gypsy's entire life. She's rebuilding that site. Yes, Night Owl, it is great. She's a web builder, and the site is beautiful. And I'm going to see if she can help me build a website. Or if any of you guys know how to build a website. Oh, and also a Roku channel. I want to build a Roku channel for the database. I've always wanted to build a Roku channel, but I might as well try to start with this. Okay. Yeah, Beth, definitely check that out. Yeah, if you guys, you're kind of unsure about the internet or whatever, or so anything like that, I can do like a quick tutorial on things. Carol Lynch. It's getting hard for me to read chat. I think I'm going to put my phone up because I want to read a big, long ChatGTP stuff. Well, Night Owl, one reason that TMZ isn't picking it up, because we're going into their lives. TMZ has been doing TikTok lives, but they're not answering TikTok. They're pushing you over to the YouTube site. So Hannah, TikTok Hannah, and a couple other ones have been going into their chat, and they keep muting them. TMZ keeps muting anybody that asks about Gypsy, because Gypsy had TMZ on speed dial when she broke up with Ryan, and that's who was following her and Ken around New Orleans. That was TMZ. In fact, Gypsy broke her NDA with Lifetime because she fed TMZ information, and Lifetime can sue her butt. Hi, New Orleans lady. So, TMZ, the same with the other media that back in 2016 spread the lie, they're complicit, and they know that. They know that. They know they helped Gypsy. Oh, have they? Your comments have been staying? Because I know they've been muting some people. I think they muted me the other day because I made 2 comments and then my screen froze. And they were not answering anybody on the TikTok live. They were pushing you. People down in chat were saying go over to YouTube and post there. That's interesting. That's good, Night Owl. Any guys, anywhere you can spread this. Daily Mail is good. Like I said, once I get this built up a little bit, well, let me show you real quick. I was going to go into this Saturday, but I'll go into it tonight just real quick too. When you go to this database over on Book of Face, okay, you're going to scroll down. Like I said, you do not have to join it to view it or take anything from it, all right? But you're going to scroll down, and the first thing you're going to see, because it's pinned, is a thread called the network, all right? Go to the comments section of that thread, and you're going to see a link to all of these groups. There's one of the groups, all right? That is called Gypsy Rose Blanchard in her own words. Now, this database is going to be made up of like 100 groups if I need that many. As many groups as I need, because I take each group and I make it a topic group, a single topic group. And then I fill that group, the file section, I make PDFs of all of the things I'm talking about, all the articles and everything. I put that up in the file section, and then I make dedicated threads for the different topics. And this is in her own words. This is going to have every legal statement that Gypsy made anywhere in her book, on the podcast, casts, in interviews. All right? Those are legal statements. Those can all be used against her in court. This is being built as a legal, basically, a legal database, that if anybody ever sues Gypsy, they can pull from this database and use that in discovery against her. That's what I build my archives for, to be used by lawyers. Okay? Now, that's that group, Gypsy Rose in her own words. I've had, back when I built the Kennedy stuff, I had Lee Oswald in his own words, RFK in his own words, JFK in his own words. All of their statements, speeches, whatever. See, that's how I build my databases. Now, they are educational resources. Let me see the next one. This one is the social media manipulation of Gypsy Blanchard. That's going to have all the TikTok stuff, where she harassed you guys, okay? Where she lied. All the social, how she used YouTube, how she used FB, how she used Instagram. Those are social media sites. So that's different from mainstream media. I want to show how she built this lie around herself, how she has maintained it for 10 years. Okay, now I'm not going to read the chat while I talk and everything, okay? Yeah, Norma, yes. Okay? Her interrogation, that's going to be in her own words. Everything she says that comes out of her mouth is a legal statement. All of these videos where she's grooming Nick, that's a legal statement. Those are words that spilled out of her pie hole, okay? Hi, Steph Tone. Okay, so this one here is going to be all the specifically the social media, all right? That's Twitter, TikTok, FB, YouTube, Instagram. I don't know if she's on Rumble and Lemon Fish, whatever. If anywhere she is, I'll find her. Anywhere that Gypsy Rose is going to have a account for this database. And that's where we're going to link everything. I'm going to hashtag her in all of those websites. Lemon Fish. I'm on it. I'm on that Blue Sky too. But I took both of those off my phone because my phone got too full. And I download hundreds of articles a day, hundreds of images and screenshots to put into the, so I'm constantly I only have so much room on my phone, and I'm constantly filling it up and having to erase images and stuff. So yeah, so I took some of the programs off, but next week I'm going to try, my son is giving me the 4th phone number on our Cricket plan. So I'm going to give that phone number to the database, and it's got its own Gmail. And so you guys are going to be able to text me and call me. But I'll need to remind you all the time, text first. Always text first, because I don't answer calls that I don't know who they are. You know, if you text me, I can put you into the contacts so that when you call me, the number will come up as somebody I know. If the number is just a blank number, I delete it. I don't answer it because I get a lot of spam. I get a lot of trolls. Yeah, hi Judah. There's a lot of social media sites. There's Lemonfish, Blue Sky. Blue Sky is like the liberal one. That's the liberal Twitter. You know, where Twitter was bought, Elon Musk bought it, and he turned it all conservative. I'm still over on Twitter, and, you know, because I built a massive database over there related to the Joel Greenberg case and all that, and I worked with other people. I worked with the people that were hunting the seditionists on Jan 6. So I've got a lot of stuff stored over there on Twitter, and I'm not deleting that account. But I don't usually go over on Twitter anymore unless something comes up and they want me to bump one of my old threads. You know, because it's like the Epstein stuff's coming up, and I have links to that. Anyway. Okay, who's Mrs. Smith? Oh, okay. Hello, Mrs. Smith. I didn't see you. Yeah. Yes, it is. It's a project. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much. It's definitely a project. But that's what I do. I build projects. Okay, hang on a second. Backgrounds. So that's what's going into social media. Okay, then I have another one that is, hold on a second, where's that at? Here's one that is the mainstream media manipulation. What that is going back to 2015 when they were arrested, and going back to actually the very first article was when Gypsy was still missing, okay? And they printed that mother murdered, daughter missing. So it starts from there and then goes through the hearing when she was found, and they found the fraud, and, you know, the sheriff said everything's not as it seems. Then it goes through the hearing, and those were printed. Hey, what's going on here? You know, and the public turned away from her. And then how they built the Munchausen and how the media helped them push this. That's what's going to be in there. And then, like all the Mommy, Dead, and Dearest documentaries. The money that went into the Mommy, Dead, and Dearest, that's where I'm going to trace the money and the lawyers. All right? You're seeing now a lot of these female lawyers popped up out of nowhere. Where were these guys? Where were these guys a year ago? Huh? After the videos came out and Gypsy cannot dance away from it or explain them properly, all these female lawyers are popping up to defend her and explain why they don't matter. Only they're falling on their face because they do matter, and they're going viral, and they can't counter it. So I want to find out if these lawyers link to Gypsy's other lawyers. Do they link to the female lawyer that helped Gypsy in her divorce? Do they link to Mike Stanfield? Does any of these legal eagles, Nicks, people, original people, do any of them link together? Why was so much money thrown at the Gypsy Rose story back then in 2017? It was just another murder. Why was so much money thrown at her? Why did Melissa Moore get involved so soon and for years? Why did Melissa Moore know about the Dawn Boker emails? I want to know a lot. I have a lot of questions. A lot of questions about the media manipulation in the Gypsy Rose case. Now, the other thing I have, okay, the original group, the first group I ever made was this one, the Gypsy Rose Digital Evidence Collection. What's going to be in there is all the Greene County stuff. A lot of people are new to this. Mrs. Smith's retired forensic accountant. Awesome! Thank you. I'll follow you. Please follow me. I'll follow you back. You will be a big help to this. You will be a big help to this, helping us understand on that level. Okay? Now, I'm glad I looked down at chat there. I'm missing stuff in chat because, yeah, Plum, you can help me with this. I don't know if my mod is here yet. Okay. Still, like see, a lot of you guys down there have backgrounds that we don't know about yet. And you need to stop. Don't hide your light under a bushel. Show us who you are. You all have talents that can help this, okay? Anyway, the digital evidence, a lot of people have never read it. They know it's there, but they've never read it because it's a lot of reading, and people don't like to read. So, and it's also, I can't upload it like onto any of the social media because it's like a big, large file, and I can only upload 25 megabytes to like FB. So I have to take it apart and screenshot each section of it and then upload it like that as photographs. Okay? So that's what's going in all there. All of the original factual evidence. The FOIAs are going to go in here too. There's going to be repetitive stuff. There's going to be data that is in multiple groups. But I want to make it easy for people to find. So this was the first group. Then I built one for Nicholas. Oh, I hope you can't see it. That's him as a little boy. Because it's the Nicholas Paul Go to John data dump. Most of my groups on FB are called data dumps because that's what they are. They're not discussion groups. They are warehouses for data. And I build them all. I fill them with the data. And then I make it available to public until it goes to lawyers. If my groups go to lawyers, then I close them down. I make them private because it's in a legal case. Okay? Hold on. Do you think we are doing any good because Gypsy is still... actually, Night Owl, she's not making money. She's not. She's not making any money over here on TikTok anymore. And Natasha Cooper is making thousands and thousands upon thousands. Okay? Gypsy's not. Gypsy's not making as much money as Natasha Cooper. And I have a question about that, but I'll keep it to myself for now. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. Okay. No, she's not making money, Night Owl. That's why she's so desperate, because her money's gone. That's why she's spiraling, because her money's gone. No, none of her attempts to stay relevant. Everything's blowing up in her face. Everything. Every time. The minute she does it. The minute she tries to explain these. The minute she tries to redeem herself. It blows up in her face. That's why she's shaving her head. Okay, guys? That's why she's shaving her head. Because she has anxiety about this. She told us herself. When she's freaking out. When she gets anxious, she cuts her hair. She's been cutting her hair for 2 years. And after when the prison emails came out, that started. You started seeing her wear the wigs. After these, she shaved her damn head. Okay. No, Night Owl, she's done. She got everyone, she's done. All right? If you stop asking me that question, because I'm going to tattoo it on all your behinds. All right? She's done. Stop clutching your pearls. She can't do anything to combat this. All right? So anyway, the Nicholas Paul Go to John, he never even had a Wikipedia. And she did. You know? I want to remind it from the beginning of this, me doing this. I want to remind everyone, that man was someone's little boy once too, just like Gypsy was. Gypsy's got to be the eternal child, right? To get the sympathy from everybody. They want to show that. Bree and them do it. And she was a little girl. That was a little boy too. A little boy who suffered with autism. A little boy who could not communicate. Like Gypsy had the ability to communicate. Gypsy was pretending to be a mentally slow child that was paralyzed in a wheelchair. She was pretending. She was in on the con from the beginning. He was someone's little boy too. He had a mother that's not here anymore because of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, because she took her life because of this. It destroyed his family. And what was Gypsy's response when she found out about his mother not being here? She said it was his karma. because he took her mother. That's who Gypsy is. That's who Gypsy will always be, who she was when she groomed him, and who she still is, Ryan. You knew that girl. You knew that girl. All right. What is this one? Oh, that's Gypsy Rose, the FOIA files. Self-explanatory what's going in there. Every single FOIA file that we have from 2024 and 2025. And I will credit the people that got those original FOIA files. Now, I know Into the Weeds has gotten these. I know this Myra has given me access to some. If you guys down there, know, I'm not up on that. I'm not up on, like, the profiles and the personalities behind this. If you know the people that have obtained and, requested and obtained and paid for these FOIA files, please get that information to me, because I want to be sure that I credit the original people, because everybody's sharing them now, and I don't want to credit the people that just took them from the other, people. Everybody who's sharing these videos, if you do not credit Into the Weeds, you're so very wrong. And I will block you. I won't give you, because a lot of people are using this for content to build their own channels now. And if I see you doing that, if I see you posting these videos and not crediting Into the Weeds, I'm going to block you, because you're not going to build your channel on my page. Network to me. I'm not going to share you. I'm not going to promote you. I'm not going to be attached to you. Credit the people that gave you this. All right? Credit the people that gave you this. Okay? Now, everybody, so that's what's going in there. Everything related to the FOIA files, the videos, the documents, anything that we have from the FOIA files. Okay? Now, where was I? There's one. Prison emails. Self-explanatory again. Everything related to the prison emails. I'm going to screenshot the actual PDFs of the emails. Put them in here. I'm trying to make transcripts when Into the Weeds read them, and that's going to be posted in here. I think I already did. Their videos. Anyone on TikTok reading the emails, going in there. 1800 Millennium. She read a lot of them. She's going in there. Transcripts. If I make transcripts that you can, read along, that's going in there. Specific emails where people started taking keywords, like searching Nick. Everything she said about Nick. There's a little Frodo over on GRB Evidence. They're concentrating on the emails. Anything related to these prison emails is going in there. Okay? I'm trying to make it as simple as I possibly can. This is the Gypsy Rose image gallery. Now, why did I make a group to hold all the images of Gypsy? Because it's digital evidence. It's legal digital evidence. All of this would have gone into court if Gypsy had gone to trial. Every single bit of this. All these characters, okay, would have gone into court to impeach her on the stand. That prosecutor would have used every single bit of this to impeach her Munchausen defense, if that's what they tried to use. And that's what her lawyer knew. Her lawyer knew if he tried to take this into court, he couldn't prove it. That's why, by the way, no lawyer ever took it, because they can't prove it. Cannot prove one bit that her mother abused her or that those doctors abused her. Period. End of discussion. Stop debating it. Stop debating it. You don't have to bring receipts to counter what Bree says. Bree is nonsense. Stop giving it oxygen. Every time you debate them, you give it oxygen. All right? I'm not debating anymore. This is to educate the public on how they were deceived, period. And then we'll let the public deal with them. Because they will. They will. that public will go to every media outlet that lied to them, and they'll deal with them. Okay? So, that's the images. Okay, every time Gypsy says, I was never allowed to see my father. My mother kept me from him. Well, here's a bunch of pictures of you with your father. I didn't know how old I was. So here's a picture of you holding your brother Dylan, who was 4 years younger than you. Did you think you magically became his same age? Actually younger than him? Yeah, whatever. Okay, here is the Gypsy Rose Blanchard web resources for educational use. Now what that is everyone on the web that's doing good content. That's Into the Weeds. That's Barb Out of Context. That's, you know, Audrey. You know, anyone. Everyone that's Becca. Definitely Becca. But, you know, we have to start sharing everyone that is doing good work. I see a lot concentrated on a few. You know, Becca, right now, yes, Into the Weeds is getting attention because they did this for you, and great, awesome. But there's been people that have been doing good work on here for 2 years. I've been following Barb Out of Context, and she's been breaking it down simply. And see, that's the thing with me. You need to break it down to its simplest form, to the basics, all right? You need to do that because the public has a low bar for this. They're not going to read endless amounts of information. They need to, that's why these videos are hitting like they are. We've known about these videos. We've known exactly what's in these videos because these were used in Nick's appeal, and they've all been broken down, and we've had that FOIA for months. I have known about the giving her child away for months, but seeing it with coming out of Gypsy's face, it's visceral. So yeah, this is all going to go viral, and it's finished her. If Gypsy didn't care about this and she had a counter for it, she would have gone on Perez in a hot minute. But she won't. Okay? And then she tried to flex by saying, I'm friends with Perez on TikTok. A bunch of us are friends with Perez because he follows back anybody who sends him 1,000 whatever. All right? Being friends with Perez on TikTok's not the flex you think it is, Gypsy. Because a bunch of us are. I'm not, but a bunch of people are. All right. So, web resources. It's going to be all the good people that I still watch. All right. Becca, Into the Weeds, Barb Out of Context. A lot of them you might not know. You might not follow. But that are doing good content. You know? So that's what's going in there. So the public can find these people. All right, where was I? Here's then, what's this one? Okay, I did the FOIA files. All right, so here's what I need from you guys. That's just a sampling, okay? I need, why do I keep disappearing? I need suggestions for groups that I can put into the database. For instance, if you think there's a topic about Gypsy that's not getting enough attention that would educate the public about her lies, let me know. Oh, nothing happened to it, Amanda. I watch Morgan Elena, Platypus. I'm just moving everything over to here. And my JFK Annie's going to be another true crime podcast because I'm frozen again. Okay, it's going to be a whole different thing. I'll do maybe some Gypsy content, but I want to draw attention to the database. So my Gypsy content is moved over here. Yeah, I'm still exist. I didn't go anywhere. But they keep hitting the JFK Annie account too. My last 5 lives about Gypsy were suspended. So I'm tired of that. Tired of that crap. I'm doing this one, and then I will make a backup account for this in case they hit it. And then I have another Gypsy. I'm going to have 3 Gypsy-centric TikTok accounts on here. But this here, the database is going to have a whole network connected to it where you can call me, you can text me. It's going to have its own phone. It's got its own Gmail. It's got a YouTube channel. It's going to have a Roku channel if I can figure out how to build that. This is going to be a whole stationary, on the web thing, entity that you can share all over. That's what I'm trying to build. Okay? So, I want everything over here. Okay, so I'm still JFK Annie. I've linked the JFK Annie name to this because every time they slander that name, people are gonna get curious. Why does some bitch out there on the internet call herself JFK Annie? Well, here you go. There, that's why. And while you're here, while you're looking for me, take a gander at my Gypsy Rose database. Okay? There's method to my madness, guys. There definitely is method to my madness. Okay, so tonight, let me get up there. Tomorrow night, I will go deeper into the, I've learned how to turn my phone around, so I will show you what is currently, what I'm doing in the, hi Andy, what I'm doing in the databases. So let me turn the thing because I want you guys to be able to read chat while I'm doing this. All right. Tonight, like I said, over here, I want this to be purely educational. Anybody that finds this TikTok account, I want them to know, hey, Annie might go live and enlighten us on something that we didn't know about the case. But Annie's going to be factual. All right, now, am I going to get stuff wrong or incorrect along the way? Of course, I'm a human being. If one of you down there, don't be afraid to correct me. Don't ever be afraid to, challenge me on something. If I'm wrong, I will fix it. I will tell you I'm wrong. I can't keep all of this in my head. Do you know how much crap is in my head? So much stuff. Okay, I'm running out of room for my Colin Firth section, and I really want to keep the Colin Firth section because it's my relaxation and my fun. But it's not. This side is filled with Gypsy. This side is filled with JFK. This back here is Watergate, Iran-Contra. Guys, I need room in my head. All right. Okay, Bethy. That's the kind of thing I need you guys to remind me. When those people are going live. Like, Becca is dropping videos and we can watch them later. But when they go live, I don't want to interrupt their lives. So I want to stagger mine because I can go on any time of the day or any time of night. I'm up all night. So I can, talk to people around the world. But I do not want to interrupt any of these videos being dropped. I want everybody to go over there and watch that. The lives on TikTok. I don't think Becca and them do lives over here on TikTok. I think they do all theirs on YouTube. But anybody over here on TikTok that's doing an important live, I don't want to, here's what I want to, I want us to flood the web, out there on the wide web. I want us to flood social media. If those of you that go live, don't interrupt each other's lives. Stagger them so that the audience out there can watch every single one of us. There's no reason one live should have 200 people and another live have 20. All of us should have hundreds of us watching. Now, I don't want that necessarily because I can't control that. I want to interact with you, all of you down there in chat. And when I'm reading stuff, I can't read the chat. So, yes, Amanda, I've watched the Perez stuff. Okay. Is it advertising? Yes. Is it going to really make a big, huge difference? No. Perez needs Into the Weeds and Audrey. He needs them. Okay? He's using this to make money. That's why he's doing it as a battle. He's not taking it seriously, guys. So, yeah, is it going to be out there? Perez has 90,000 followers. Audrey has 300,000 followers. Do the math. Does Audrey need Perez? No. No. Is Audrey being on Perez advertising for herself? Yes, it is. And that's a good thing. The information's going to get out there. Nothing's going to stop this. These videos, Sloan just did a live on YouTube. Now, Sloan is way bigger than Perez. All right? So, Night, I follow the Idaho case too, Mrs. Smith. I'll follow you back. Okay. So, yes, yeah, I love Sloan. And my gosh, was it a good, oh my goodness, guys. That means big, and remember Bailey Sarian was going to do another episode, and she took it down because she said she has new information now. What about her she's getting these videos. Wait for her episode on Gypsy. The big creators are turning. They're turning. Okay, what's his head? Perez having Nina on, that's going to draw attention to all of that. Okay? It's getting out there. Nothing's stopping it. And the biggest thing that makes you understand if Gypsy had anything, any defense that she could use, she would have gone up on Perez. Come on. Where's the woman that would jump at any advertising? She went on Kardashians. She would have jumped on Perez. But she sent her goon up there. And as soon as Perez said, come on up, that she was in the chat, he wanted her to come up, she ran off. She is running away. Yes, they're scrambling. And her goons had no defense for her. Come on. They had no defense but to attack Becca. Do you understand now why Becca was doxxed months ago? Do you understand that? Do you understand that they're killing the messenger? That's all they have. They have no recourse. They have no answer for anything. They have no evidence for anything. And so they attack the personality. You know, Born on the Bayou comes up on my life a month back, calls me ugly. Ooh, that's going to shut me up. You think I don't know I'm ugly? You think I don't have a mirror? You know, you think I don't know? I got this chin, this turkey neck. You think I don't have that? Huh? I know. You wonder why there's a reason you never see my hair? Because it goes all over the place. You know, I might shave my head. I'll take a hat off. I don't care if I'm bald. Yeah, I am well lived. Are you serious? Are you serious, Becky? Oh my God. That's a lawyer? Would they take that into court? It's like, you are ugly. Understand that? Oh my God. No, you're serious, Becky. Can you send that to me? Yeah, send that to me. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to read something to you guys. And this is what I'm going to do over here. I'm going to start challenging all of Gypsy's bullshit. That's what the whole thing that the database is about. The database is to show how they basically lied. You know, they lied about everything. Yeah, send it to my messages and I'll watch all that later. And I will go over and comment. Okay? Oh, hi, Holly Suzanne. Okay, now I'm going to put the phone down in my little slot thing here, so I'm not going to be able to read chat. I think Plum Craig is still down there, she can kind of monitor chat for me. Okay? But this is important that I want to read. Hold on, let me get my phone. Okay. All right, you can all still see chat, right? I changed the background. Okay. Let me bundle. You don't have to see me while I'm reading, but what I'm reading is I go into ChatGPT, and what I'm trying to do is train AI. Right now, all AI is they comb the internet and they pull everything about whatever questions. You ask it a question, they pull everything off the web. But primarily right now they're going to like Google and Basic. If you ask it to do a deeper dive, they will go to other search engines, okay? But right now, when it searches, if you ask it about Gypsy Rose, when it searches, it pulls up all of the stuff from 2016. So it's going to defend the version that Dee Dee had Munchausen's, okay? Because that's all it's getting. But let me show you how I'm retraining AI. So here's what I asked. Are the videos Gypsy Rose Blanchard made for Nick Godejohn trauma response? Because see how Gypsy replied to it. She said she's not proud of them, but they were coercive control, that they were her trauma response, okay? Now, so here's the first answer. Yes, some of the videos Gypsy Rose Blanchard recorded and shared with Nicholas Godejohn have been described by Gypsy herself as tied to the traumatic context of their relationship and what was happening at the time, though how they're interpreted depends on perspective. So Gypsy's own explanation, see, when it searched, it found Gypsy's response. So that's what it's saying. Well, yes, it can be described as trauma response because Gypsy said it was. You see? That's why that response was. Then it says Gypsy's own explanation. In response to recently released videos she made that were obtained via Freedom of Information request, Gypsy Rose said the videos were recorded during a period of extreme trauma, coercive control, and emotional dependency. She framed the things she said and did in those videos as not reflective of who she is now. What'd Sheena do when she went up on Perez? That's not the girl she is now. Yes, it is. Okay. And pointed to the psychological pressure and dynamics in the relationships with Godejohn at the time. She also mentioned she's done years of therapy and healing work since then. And we know that's all a lie. She went on Kardashian and said she wasn't eligible for therapy, so she didn't have any. Then the prisoners, the women that were in prison with her said, yes, she did have access to therapy, she just didn't go. All right, that's all a lie. Everything in that Gypsy's saying is a lie. So, what the videos included. According to court records and reporting, the videos included role-playing scenarios, some of which showed Gypsy depicting her describing how to Dee Dee, and were part of the evidence considered during Godejohn's trial and later appeal. They weren't just casual clips, they were explicit, disturbing, showing a side of their relationships that seemed to involve manipulation and planning. So trauma and relationship dynamics. Experts and commenters have discussed the relationship context. Gypsy was raised in an abusive situation, Munchausen by proxy, which deeply affected her psychological state, likely her dependency on Godejohn. Some analysts and defense arguments have suggested Gypsy's influence over him and their interactions in those videos reflect manipulation or grooming dynamics, not just innocent communication. However, whether the videos are officially classified as trauma response in a clinical sense is nuanced. Gypsy views them through the lens of trauma and coercive emotional dependency. Legally and publicly, they were part of the evidence showing active involvement in planning and discussing the murder. That's why we have them now. So when they're trying to defend her with these videos by saying, how come they're just showing up now? Because Nick was going through his appeal process, which took 10 years, and these were a part of that process, and so they could not be released via a FOIA. Get it? Shanna? They were part of legal proceedings. So they were sealed. And they were not available via a FOIA request. Nick's appeal process is done. His habeas corpus was denied. So now, guess what? We can request this stuff and get it, including all the Facebook stuff. Shanna. So that's why we didn't have them till now. All right? So, important context. Interpreting these videos as purely trauma response can be controversial. Some see them as part of her coping and psychological reaction to her abusive upbringing and her connection to Godejohn. Others see them as active participation in planning harm. There isn't a universal clinical or legal label classifying them strictly as trauma reactions. Instead, that interpretation primarily comes from Gypsy's own statements and the context she describes. Okay. So, my next question. Gypsy herself describes herself as a pathological liar. How does that apply? Now, where does Gypsy describe herself as a pathological liar? Before Bree and Shanna come out and say, she never did that. Yeah, she did. On Dr. Phil, what does she say? My mother taught me to be a very good liar without any conscience. Guess what that is? Guess what that is the definition of pathological liar. Guess how else we can prove that she's a pathological liar? Because everything that comes out of her pie hole is a lie. All right? You can call it an inconsistency. No, it's a lie. All right. So, Gypsy herself describes herself as a pathological liar. How does that apply to this? When Gypsy Rose Blanchard calls herself a pathological liar, that statement has important implications for how all of her explanations are evaluated, including her claim that the videos made for Nick Godejohn were a trauma response. Here's how that applies, carefully and realistically. What pathological liar actually means, clinically versus casually. Pathological lying, and it says pseudologia fantastica. I learned something new just now. Is not a formal DSM diagnosis. It's a behavioral pattern characterized by habitual repeated lying. Do we have that with Gypsy? Habitual repeated lying? Do we have that? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? Okay. Lies that serve emotional, social, or self-protective purposes. Do we have that with Gypsy? Did she lie to protect herself, explain herself, or demonize her mother so she could get the plea deal? Okay. Shifting narratives depending on the audience. Do we have that with Gypsy? Lies told even when the truth would not cause harm. Do we have that with Gypsy? She lies when she breathes. Crucially, pathological liars can tell the truth sometimes, but their credibility must always be evaluated against independent evidence. Okay? Now, when did Gypsy tell the truth? When she said her mother's last words were, "Gypsy, don't hurt me." That was one. So when Gypsy uses this label about herself, she is acknowledging a long-standing pattern of deception, not claiming every statement she makes is false. How that affects her trauma response explanation. Their self-reported motives with disassociating, I was coerced, this was trauma, cannot be accepted at face value. Those explanations must be weighed against contemporaneous behavior, consistency over time, objective evidence, messages, actions, planning. In Gypsy's case, the videos were deliberate. They involved role play, rehearsal, instruction, and encouragement. They occurred over time, not during a single acute panic or dissociative episode. That pattern matters. All of Gypsy's patterns matter. Okay? Trauma responses versus strategic behavior. True trauma responses typically involve involuntary reactions, disorganized or fragmented behavior, avoidance, freezing, panic, or emotional flooding. When I was traumatized last week from these videos and didn't even realize it, I was very angry. I was just angry walking through my day-to-day life. And then it ended with that emotional response the other day. You know, I was triggered because my personal trauma was triggered by watching this. Even I didn't understand that. That was an involuntary response. That's what a trauma response is. All right? I went a whole week without even realizing that I was triggered. That's trauma response, not what Gypsy's doing in these videos. The videos Gypsy made for Nick show structured narratives, repeated themes, planning language, emotional reinforcement, performance and persuasion. What did Gypsy tell Ken? I'm a planner. I'm a planner. I plan. Yeah, you planned your mother's murder. And you groomed Nick to do it. And that's what these videos are showing. And that's why you can't show your face. That doesn't automatically mean no trauma. But it does undermine the claim that the behavior was purely a trauma response. A more accurate framing would be trauma-influenced behavior combined with intentional manipulation. Those two things can coexist. Why her admission actually weakens later reinterpretations. Gypsy's admission of pathological lying creates a credibility issue when she later reframes past actions after consequences occur, reassigns blame depending on context, revises intent retroactively, especially when earlier versions of events contradict later ones, revisions consistently reduce her culpability, the changes occur after legal outcomes are fixed. That doesn't mean she's lying now, but it means her explanations require corroboration. The bottom line, Gypsy describing herself as a pathological liar means her claim that the videos were a trauma response is an interpretation, not a fact. It should be evaluated alongside the content of the videos, the duration and repetition, her demonstrated capacity for long-time deception. Trauma may explain why she behaved that way, but it does not erase agency, intent, or planning. In short, trauma can shape behavior, but a self-admitted pattern of deception means motive claims are not self-validating. Okay, and then it asks me if it wants me to break it down further. Applied to the grooming, whatever, but I ask it another question. I say, how could Nick Godejohn control Gypsy from hundreds of miles away when she could have just turned off her computer? That question goes straight to the core logical problem with the claim that Nick Godejohn controlled Gypsy Rose Blanchard from hundreds of miles away. If we strip this down to the facts and mechanics, not narratives, here's how courts, psychologists, and common sense analysis look at it. Remote control requires leverage. Nick had none. For coercive control to exist at a distance, the controlling person must have at least one of the following. Financial control. Did Nick have that? Huh? Is Whitney Duckworth back here? Okay, that's a troll, guys. Ignore her or let her show her ass, okay? They have to handle this, especially this right now. They have to handle me showing you how Gypsy's saying that it was coercive control and trauma response is not valid. They have to handle this. That's Gypsy, or someone for Gypsy, okay? Financial control, did Nick have that? No. Nick told Gypsy, hey, this is going to have to wait because I don't have the money to get to you. And Gypsy sent him the money to get to her. Gypsy funded all of this. That's why had she gone to court, guess what she would have been charged with? Felicitating. That's paying for shit. That's paying for a hitman. All right? That's facilitating, I'm sorry. Physical presence or threat. Was there a physical presence or threat? No, there wasn't. Not for 3 years. Nick was not with her. She could have just turned her computer off. Access to the victim's environment. Did he have that? No, he didn't. Not until she paid for him to get there. Not before she said, hey, can I go have sex with Dan Glidewell in the coffee shop on our way out of town? You know what that was doing? That was telling Nick, hey, if you don't get your ass there, she's going to go off with Dan, and you're going to lose her. That was right after, by the way. The murder was June 15th. I'm sorry, no, June 9th or 10th. June 2nd, Nick's backing out. And Gypsy yells at him. And he's going to harm himself, and she brings Kitty in. Daddy, Daddy, come back. And Nick says to her, I thought I lost you. And instead of reassuring him that she never would lose him, like she's doing in these videos, right? You're my forever and always. I worship and adore you. I want to be with you forever. You know, I want to live in a white picket fence with you. You're my soulmate. You're my twin flame that I'm going to throw under the bus the minute I'm interrogated. Okay? What does Gypsy say? She says, you almost did. That told Nick, if he doesn't do what she wants him to do, she's gone. If he doesn't get on that bus and get to her and kill her mother, she's going off with Dan Glidewell. And he mentions Dan in the interrogation. He says, I'll apologize to everyone but Dan. And he wonders, he questions, did Gypsy go off with Dan and leave him holding the bag? So, there you go. Hold on. So, needed access to the victim's environment. He didn't have that. Authority, legal, parental, institutional. Did Nick have any authority at all over Gypsy? No, he did not. The ability to punish or restrict movement. Did Nick have that? No, he did not. Nick had none of these. It says right there, the last line. Nick had none of these. He lived hundreds of miles away. He had no money, no job, no transportation. He had no access to Gypsy's home. He had no authority over her. He relied on her for validation, direction, and purpose. Are you seeing it? Control cannot exist without leverage. Nick had no leverage. Gypsy controlled the communication channel. This is critical and often glossed over. Gypsy owned and used the computer. She chose when to log on. She chose when to log off. Initiated many conversations. Escalated sexual and violent role play. Created and sent videos that she edited and put credits on, people. Did Nick script all of that? Used multiple personas and aliases. Did Nick? Nope. He had Nick and his dark side, which they named Victor. Which I'll eventually find out if Nick called him that or if you named Victor Victor. All right. At any moment, she could have turned off the computer, blocked Nick, stopped responding, contacted police. Hey, these crazy guys on the internet, stalking me, coercively controlling me. Contacted anyone else online, and we know she did about Nick, didn't she? She contacted Aaliyah in 2014, lied to Aaliyah, said, I'm 18. No, you were 23, Gypsy. Told Aaliyah all about Nick. Nick and your, public displays of affection before you even met him. You're going to get married. You're soulmates. He accepted you even with your medical issues. He accepted everything about you. You're telling Aaliyah that you still have those medical issues that you don't have. You're lying your ass off to Aaliyah, telling her everything. Why didn't you tell Aaliyah, I'm in love with this guy and he's coercively controlling me? Huh? Gypsy? Anyone? Seriously? No, you lie your ass off to Aaliyah and tell her all about Nick because somebody had to know about Nick to report Nick to the police when you disappeared. All right. Nick could not force continued interaction. That alone undermines the claim of coercive control. Contrast with Dee Dee's control, the difference matters. Dee Dee's alleged control. Alleged. That's the first time I've seen it answer that with the term alleged. That's how I'm retraining AI. Whether exaggerated or not, involved physical proximity, dependency, medical gatekeeping, identity control, isolation. Nick's situation involved voluntary online communication, secrecy chosen by Gypsy, fantasy roleplay, mutual reinforcement. Those are categorically different dynamics. Calling both control flattens meaning until the word becomes useless. It's useless with her mother, too, because these videos show that Dee Dee did not have complete control and never let Gypsy out of her sight. She was out of her sight all the time to make hundreds of these videos. All right, who directed whom? Look at the evidence pattern from messages, videos, and testimony. Gypsy introduced the murder idea, framed it as the only way, reassured Nick repeatedly, provided instructions, emotionally coached him, rewarded him with affection and sexual content. Nick expressed fear, sought reassurance, asked if they should stop, worried about consequences, deferred to Gypsy's wishes. That pattern aligns far more with Gypsy exerting influence than the reverse. Trauma does not eliminate agency, even if Gypsy was traumatized. Do you remember how, I keep saying Gypsy had sexual agency. This is what this means. Trauma explains vulnerability. Even if Gypsy was traumatized, it explains vulnerability. It does not create mind control. It does not remove the ability to log off. Many trauma survivors engage in online relationships without being remotely controlled. Agency still exists unless it is physically or materially removed, which it was not. Why the remote control claim persists. The idea that Nick controlled Gypsy from afar persists because it simplifies the story morally. It fits a redemption arc. It avoids confronting her planning role. It resonates emotionally with abuse narratives. She is pandering to her supporters who are real trauma survivors. Get it? You see how she's using this? And all of those people that supported her because they were real trauma survivors are now being triggered by these videos. I'm a real trauma survivor. I was triggered by the videos and I didn't even realize that's what that was. You know? That's how real trauma survivors are really, as we go through, we have to do so much as we go through our daily lives because this is always with us. And we have to live our daily fucking lives. We have to raise our children. We have to interact with regular people. You know, always in the background that we think, you know, if we share our stories to try to explain, this is why I'm like this, okay? This happened to me, and this is why I'm like this. It makes us vulnerable to all kinds of things. If I'm sharing with someone the stuff that happened to me, and when I was younger, when CPS was called on me, and those claims were made that I beat my children, I had to tell that CPS worker my background and why I don't hit my children, why I don't raise my children that way. All right? Not knowing, actually understanding that when we share our stories, the person looking at us is going to question us. They're going to suspect us. In the back of their heads, they're going to go, will they abuse their children because it happened to them? Because that's been the long-standing thing. If abuse like this happens to you, you will abuse your own children. We always have to be on guard. Every day we're on guard. We can't live our lives like everybody fucking else. So that is the most insidious thing that Gypsy is doing to the people that support her, that have real trauma. She's triggering them. She's using their trauma. And they are going, I was just talking with this to Audrey about this. Audrey J, not the Audrey. When these people are triggered, they're going to have to process that. And they're going to need some kind of safe place. And I want this to be their safe place. So if any of you out there are listening and you don't want to come in here, for whatever reason, if you are being traumatized by what Gypsy is doing, if you're being triggered and, you're experiencing these feelings that are just flooding you now, this is a safe place for you. You can come here and you will be safe and you will be protected. So that's what we can do. We can do a lot of things beyond getting Gypsy off the internet and dealing with her and exposing her to the public, beyond building this database and making it available to the public forever as a resource. We can help the people that she's traumatized. All of us out there can connect together and network and help these people. Okay? It resonates emotionally with abuse narratives, but emotionally compelling is not the same as mechanically possible. Bottom line, Nick Godejohn could not control Gypsy Rose Blanchard from hundreds of miles away when she controlled the device, the communication, the secrecy, and the narrative. What did exist was a dysfunctional, mutually reinforcing online relationship. I'll go with that. Shaped by Gypsy's deception, fantasy, use, and planning. Let me repeat that. Shaped by Gypsy's deception, fantasy, use, and planning. And Nick's psychological dependency and suggestibility. That's the autism. That is influence and manipulation, not coercive control. And then it asks if I want to diagram the power imbalance, and I asked another question. I said, how did Dee Dee control Gypsy if Gypsy was making hundreds of fetish videos all over the house? This is a legitimate factual contradiction, and it's one of the strongest challenges to the idea that Dee Dee exercised total or constant control over Gypsy. The short answer is Dee Dee did not have the kind of absolute minute-to-minute control that later narratives sometimes imply. Control where it existed was situational, strategic, and inconsistent. Here's how those things can coexist without rewriting reality. Control does not mean 24/7 surveillance. Even in genuinely abusive or controlling households, control is rarely constant, perfectly enforced, or omniscient. But that's what they claim. Bree said, in her formative years, Dee Dee never let her out of her sight, right? Gypsy was constantly controlled by Dee Dee. Dee Dee controlled everything. People often imagine control as someone watching every second. That's how it usually works. Dee Dee slept, left the house, trusted Gypsy with computers and privacy, believes the sick child persona was internalized. That created windows of autonomy, and Gypsy clearly used them. Actually, what happened to Dee Dee destroying her computer? What happened to Gypsy saying she wasn't allowed to have phone and computer? What happened to that? Fetish videos require privacy, time, repetition, and confidence. That's what I've been saying. Takes time to put that makeup on and dress up. Takes a lot of time. Making hundreds of videos around the house means Gypsy had private access to rooms, uninterrupted time, control of a device, confidence she wouldn't be caught, belief she could hide or explain activity. These are not the conditions of someone under tight physical control. This strongly indicates that Dee Dee was not constantly monitoring. Gypsy was skilled at secrecy. Gypsy had functional autonomy inside the home. Control was contextual, not total. Where Dee Dee did exert control was medical narrative, public identity, finances and benefits, interactions with authorities and charities. However, Gypsy was constantly stealing the money. So Dee Dee didn't exert financial control because Gypsy knew where that money was. She constantly stole it. She stole it to go take to Dan. She stole the prescriptions to take to Dan. She stole the money to give to Nick to come to her, thousands of dollars. Where she did not, Gypsy's private online life, Dee Dee had no control over that. Gypsy's sexual behavior, no control. Gypsy's secret relationships, no control. Gypsy's digital activity, no control. That's how Gypsy was able to plan the murder on the internet without Dee Dee finding it. This is selective control, not imprisonment. See? Gypsy wasn't in a prison with her mom, like that prosecutor said, because she had a private online life. She had personal sexual agency and behavior. She had secret relationships, and she had digital activity that Dee Dee didn't know about. Deception cuts both ways, a key point often missed. If Gypsy could successfully deceive doctors, charities, neighbors, and online communities for years, she could also deceive, wait for it, her mother. The same skills used to run secret Facebook accounts, maintain online personas, lie convincingly to strangers would also apply inside the house. Dee Dee believing Gypsy was compliant doesn't mean she was. The total control narrative emerged after the crime. Before the murder, Gypsy was seen as shy but capable. Neighbors reported seeing her alone. She traveled, used computers, chatted freely. She had boyfriends, sexual interests, and plans. After the murder, the story shifted to near total captivity. That shift matters when evaluating credibility. This doesn't mean Dee Dee was innocent. It means reality was messy. Two things can be true at once. Dee Dee exploited Gypsy medically and socially. Well, that's up for debate. Now that we have all this other information we previously did not have. That is up for debate. Gypsy had far more agency than later portrayed. Now, the only reason anyone, the public, believes that Dee Dee is what they claim she was is because all of it came after the crime from Gypsy, who is, wait for it, a pathological liar. What the fetish videos show is not freedom without limits, but freedom with secrecy. Someone who is, bottom line, someone who is able to secretly create hundreds of videos throughout a house is not under constant physical or environmental control. Dee Dee's control, where it existed, was narrative-based, situational, dependent on deception, and not absolute. That distinction matters, legally, psychologically, and factually. And it says, if you want, I can next compare this to real FDIA control, break down control clinically, or map Gypsy's demonstrated autonomy over the year by year. I said, is it possible that Gypsy used these sexually explicit videos to groom Nick? Yes, it is possible. And many analysts, including legal commentators and forensic psychologists, consider it a plausible interpretation of the evidence. Evidence. That's what these are, guys, by the way. Not AI. Not her personal little diary or whatever. Evidence. Legal evidence that was used in court in Nick's appeal. That's, by the way, why we're just getting them now. Because his appeals are over. They were not permitted to be released to the public. And something else is going on right now, by the way, because they requested other files and they were given that they can't give them because there's an ongoing legal proceeding. So I wonder what that is. I wonder what the ongoing legal proceedings is. So, okay, they consider plausible interpretation of the evidence, saying that does not require demonizing Gypsy or denying her trauma. It's about matching behaviors to establish grooming dynamics. Here's a careful, evidence-based way to look at it. What grooming means in this context. Grooming is not limited to adults grooming minors in forensic psychology. It can also mean gradually shaping another person's emotions, beliefs, behavior, using affection, sexuality, fantasy, and validation to create dependency, escalating requests over time, framing harmful acts as proof of love or loyalty. Do we have any of that with Gypsy and Nick? Let's see. Do we have using affection, sexuality, and fantasy to create dependency? Was Nick dependent on Gypsy? Oh, yes, he fucking was. Okay? Escalating requests over time. Yeah. She didn't start out with, will you kill my mom for me? That gradually. That came with, you said you'd do anything to protect me, right? Did you? You said you'd protect me from anything, right? Nick says, yes, of course. You're my everything. You're my world. Does that mean my mother too? Now those are Gypsy's words to Dr. Phil, to everyone. It's in all the documentaries on why and how she asked Nick. And she said, you said you'd protect me from everything. Yes, Nick answers. Does that include my mother? Yes. Will you kill my mother? What was Nick's reply? Gypsy, I can't do that. Me, Nick, I can't do that. But you can ask my dark side. I have a dark side living inside of me. You can maybe ask him. But me, Nick, the Nick part of me can't do this. Was he dependent on Gypsy? Did he want her in his life more than anything? Yeah. Go listen to his statement to the judge the day he was sentenced. Okay? All he wanted in his life was Gypsy. That's the only reason he did that. So all of them still demonizing Nick, saying he had murderous ideation and he would have done this without Gypsy, and he was always sitting there waiting and planning and wanting to kill someone. That's wrong. Because what did he say in his interrogation when she said, would you do this again? Do you always? No, I wouldn't do this for anyone but Gypsy. I would not do this for anyone but Gypsy. Every negative, slanderous, demonizing thing that is said about Nick came out of Gypsy's mouth, and she's a pathological liar. Everything about her mother that makes her mother the monster comes from Gypsy, and Gypsy's a pathological liar. The key elements are power, imbalance, conditioning, and escalation. Nick Godejohn's vulnerabilities matter. Nick had documented intellectual and developmental limitations, autism spectrum disorder, social isolation, little to no sexual or romantic experience, a strong need for approval and structure, and all he wanted was love. Go read. NPG Cornerstone just released the Christian Mingle messages back and forth. What Nick is telling her, all I want is a woman that won't lie to me. Well, he didn't get that. You got a pathological liar that's a homicidal maniac. These traits are well-recognized risk factors for being groomed or manipulated, especially in online relationships. All Nick ever had was online relationships. Gypsy didn't. Gypsy was not in a prison. Nick was. Nick was in a prison in his bedroom, having all his social activity online. Gypsy was a local celebrity. She had outlets out the ass. She had constant contact with not only the neighborhood, but all the people from the charities, all the people from when they traveled, including her father and Christy and her siblings. How the videos fit grooming patterns. The sexually explicit videos Gypsy sent were not random. They show several classic grooming components. Sexual conditioning, sex and affection were consistently tied to compliance. Here, I'll give you this. You can have this. You can have me. You can have all of this sex. If you listen to me, if you obey me. If you don't obey me, look at Demona. If you don't obey me, I'll take the one thing you want more than anything away from you, Gypsy. I'll take Gypsy away. One, if you don't do as I say, I'll punish you by you can't talk to her for a week. Then I'll take her permanently away. I have the ability to do that because I live inside Gypsy. I'll just kill her. Get it? Are you all seeing it? I mean, how blind do you have to be not to see this? All right? So sex and affection were consistently tied to compliance. Sexual access functioned as a reward. Fantasy reinforcement. Shared role play, alter egos, characters, scenarios. Blurring fantasy and real-world intent. Creating a private us against the world narrative. Escalation. Sexual content, violent role play, murder rehearsal. Repetition normalized the idea. Violence became intertwined with intimacy. Emotional dependency. Gypsy reassured Nick repeatedly. Framed herself as helpless without him. Positioned him as her only way out. This is behavioral shaping, not a momentary trauma response. Now, right there, sexual content, violent role play, murder rehearsal. Violence became intertwined with intimacy. This is Ruby. This is Ruby. When she says to him, you know, if a girl wants to be your girlfriend, you know, I'll torture her and kill her, sharpen my nails. It'll be bloody, right? If you want to have sex with a girl, you know, I might let that happen, but we can kill her afterwards. We'll kill her afterwards. Do you see what she was doing? That's what she was doing. She's grooming him. Okay. Emotional dependency. Gypsy reassured Nick repeatedly, framed herself as helpless without him, positioned him as her only way out. This is behavioral shaping, not momentary trauma response. Agency versus trauma. Both can coexist. Important nuances. Gypsy may have been traumatized. Trauma can increase manipulative behaviors as a survival strategy. Trauma does not erase intent or strategy. Using sexuality to influence someone doesn't require calm calculation. It can still be deliberate. Why this framing is controversial. The grooming interpretation is resisted because Gypsy is widely viewed as the victim in the broader story. Why? Because they lied to the public. They lied about her mom. They lied about everything. Go over to that website. Gypsy Rose lied about everything, or lied about it all. GRB evidence. I'm going to tattoo that on all your behinds. Okay. Gypsy is widely viewed as the victim. Grooming language disrupts a simple moral narrative. It raises uncomfortable questions about comparative culpability, but discomfort doesn't make the analysis invalid. What courts effectively concluded without using the word? Courts didn't formally label it grooming, but they recognized that Gypsy initiated and sustained the plan, influenced Nick's actions. She was not a passive participant, and her communications mattered. That's why she pled guilty to second-degree murder, not a lesser role. And the only reason, let's remember, the only reason she got that plea deal to second degree is because the prosecutor said, I can convict both Gypsy and Nick on first degree, but it would not be fair to give Gypsy a life in prison like I'm giving Nick. That wouldn't be fair because Gypsy had lived a life in prison with her mom. But did she? Where's the evidence for that, Mr. Patterson? Where is the legal evidence that you would have taken into court, or that her defense attorney could have taken into court to show that she lived in prison with her mother? If you'd gone into court, Mr. Patterson, you would have impeached Gypsy on the stand with all of these videos, and you know it. You would have proved that she did not have Munchausen. If they tried to use the Munchausen defense in court, you could have impeached her in 5 minutes. That jury would have laughed her out of the courtroom. It would have been worse than Jodi Arias on the stand. Okay, way worse. So why'd you give her the plea deal, Mr. Patterson? Was it just because you were up for re-election and you had sent your legal assistant into the Reddit sites and into the Facebook groups to push the Munchausen, or they had sent them in to push the Munchausen defense? What's his name? Mike Stanfield? Was Mike Stanfield connected to VisionCon when Gypsy was doing all that, sending naked pictures to them at VisionCon? Any other legal people around this connected to VisionCon and all that shady shit going down? I have questions. I do have questions. Okay, so bottom line. Yes, it is possible and reasonable to interpret Gypsy's sexually explicit videos and communications as grooming behavior toward Nick, particularly given his vulnerabilities in the escalating pattern. That doesn't mean she was evil, trauma wasn't real, or that Dee Dee bears no responsibility. It means the relationship dynamic shows manipulation through sexual and emotional conditioning, not remote coercive control by Nick. So there you go. So, here's my last question. If the prosecutor had used these videos in court, would they have convicted Gypsy? Short answer, very likely yes. Or more precisely, Gypsy would have been at serious risk of a much higher conviction had the videos been fully used against her at trial. Here's why. The most important fact, Gypsy was never tried. Gypsy was not acquitted. She pled guilty to second-degree murder. That plea happened before a full evidentiary trial where all communication, videos, and messages could be tested in open court. See? This never went before a judge, Gypsy, so you can't use that. You can't say the judge saw all of this and validated my defense. No. Let's read that again. That plea happened before a full evidentiary trial where all communications, videos, and messages would be tested in open court. A plea deal exists because both sides know what would happen if the evidence were fully aired. So why did that prosecutor not want this trial to go forward? Why, Mr. Patterson? Why? You could have convicted her. She lived in a prison defense doesn't fly anymore now that we have more evidence. So, what the videos legally show from a prosecutor's view, if the sexually explicit and role-play videos had been introduced at trial, prosecutors would have used them to establish mens rea, intent, rehearsal of murder scenarios, descriptions of stabbing, normalization of violence, emotional encouragement. This directly undermines any claim of impulsive behavior, disassociation, lack of intent. Planning and premeditation, repetition over time, escalation, instructional elements, emotional conditioning. That moves the case toward first-degree murder, not away from culpability. How the videos would have damaged her core defense narrative. Gypsy's mitigation relied on coercive control, helplessness, lack of agency, trauma-driven compliance. The videos show initiative, creativity, persuasion, strategic sexual influence, control of narrative. A jury seeing those videos would struggle to reconcile them with, I had no power and no choice. That contradiction matters enormously in court. Why prosecutors didn't fully use them against Gypsy, this is critical. Prosecutors made a strategic choice. Secure a guaranteed conviction, avoid jury unpredictability, avoid re-traumatizing material, focus on convicting the actual killer, Nick. See? They pushed it all on Nick. They did not need to maximize Gypsy's sentence, only to lock in guilt. That does not mean the evidence was weak. It means the evidence was strong enough that Gypsy accepted a plea. Compare outcomes Gypsy versus Nick. Nick went to trial. All disturbing material was admissible. Convicted. Life without parole. Gypsy pled. Evidence never fully litigated. 10 years released early. That discrepancy isn't about innocence. It's about procedural posture. Likely trial outcome if videos were fully used. If Gypsy had gone to trial and the videos were played for the jury, the realistic risks were conviction for first degree, sentence far exceeding 10 years, jury rejection of a pure victim narrative, greater emphasis on manipulation and grooming. That is precisely what plea bargaining is designed to avoid. Bottom line, yes, if the prosecution had fully used these videos in jury trial, Gypsy faced a very real risk of conviction on more serious charges and a significantly longer sentence, including soliciting, asking him to do it, facilitating, giving him the money to get to her because he didn't have any money, okay? Stealing the weapon, providing the weapon. All three of those are additional charges and additional sentences, some up to 20 years, okay? Cleaned up the crime scene. That's obstruction of justice. Conspiracy. All right? You understand now the demonizing of Dee Dee? Because it was their only way out. So, the fact that she pled guilty before that happened tells you everything you need to know about how damaging that evidence could have been. Let me read that one again. The fact that she pled guilty before that happened tells you everything you need to know about how damaging the evidence could have been. This is evidence. It would have been so damaging in a trial. Death penalty was on the table. You think Gypsy's not concerned about this going public now? She knows what this would have meant had that gone before a jury. Now, it's going before a jury. It's going before the public jury. The one that she needs to believe in her the most. the one that she's been deceiving for 10 years, manipulating their perception. Okay? All right. So, that's how, whoops, hang on. I got to plug in. All right. My phone was dead when I started, so I'm plugged into my external battery. I've got an external battery. So if I die, it means my phone died. So I've not been paying attention to the chat. Let me ask first off, was that beneficial to you understanding how Gypsy is saying this is coercive control? You know, it's not a defense. Are you guys fighting with what's going on with Whitney? Okay, I don't have time to go back and what's going down. Somebody just concise it down. What's going on in chat? Bethy, everything's turning. She's bleeding followers. All she's got left are the bots, the bot accounts, the fake accounts, and the people that are latched onto her to sell shit. That's it. She doesn't have real people anymore. Okay, Whitney, I want you to answer this. Are you pro-Gypsy, anti-Gypsy? Who the hell are you? Are you pro-Gypsy or anti-Gypsy? You're anti-Gypsy. Okay. Well, I know a couple weeks ago I saw you down here and you seem to be trolling this chat. So there's a reason that I'm suspicious of you. I know that. I remember your name, so I know that I'm suspicious of you. I don't remember why, and I don't care. Okay. What questions are you asking, Whitney? Oh, you came up on panel one night. Is Plum Cray Cray still here? She might have had to jump down. Okay. Whitney, this isn't about those kinds of things. I was reading something very important. I was challenging Gypsy's statement that the videos were coercive control and trauma response. Why are you asking about the stab wounds? If I do a live on the autopsy of Dee Dee, you can ask about the stab wounds. I already read it. And here's what I'll do, Sonny. I will download this and I will post it over on YouTube so that you guys can watch it again. I'm not going to read it all again. The only reason I'm doing these over here is they're going to be educational, and I'm going to put them over on YouTube so everybody can access them, because they'll be there forever. Yes. Let me hold on because I can't see the chat. Hold on. Lori, I don't know how to say your name. Lori Nan. Yes, there are people who knew Dee Dee, and they are being collected with Becca Scoops, and that I keep forgetting her name. Laura, the redhead, beautiful redhead that does the stuff on narcissists. They have something in production, that is going to have those people talk about Dee Dee. Yes, Sonny, thank you. Yeah. Well, Sammy, what that was ChatGTP. I'm trying to retrain AI so that when you ask a question about Dee Dee, all of the lies about her don't come up. And the only way you do that is by asking it questions and then putting shit out on the web. And then when it combs the web, it'll find that stuff. So this told me one thing. This told me that ChatGTP found those videos. The videos have gone viral. So ChatGTP knows all about it, and they're able to analyze those videos. Yeah, that's what, Sammy. Yeah, that's what, I'm trying to read, and that's what you do with AI. Because right now, we're constantly retraining it. And so you, like when it pops up, you say, ask a question about Dee Dee or Gypsy or whatever, it'll pop up with all of the Munchausen crap. But then you say, but okay, like for instance, the one time I said, what, Gypsy, pew-pewed her mom in 2011. How does that apply to her claims of abuse? And it right away it said, because it couldn't find anything. It said, if Gypsy did that, yes, it definitely changes the narrative because it gives Gypsy control. It shows that her mother was afraid of her, that Gypsy was not afraid of her mom. Her mother was afraid of her. And so, but it framed it with if that's true. So I said, Gypsy writes about it in her own book, My Time to Stand. She references that she did that. And in fact, she says, Honey and Baby were equal now because Honey knew Baby could be violent. It came back with a whole thing of, oh, well, if that's true, yeah, it completely changes the narrative. All right? So it's the prompts that you give it. Yeah, start going over to ChatGTP and, asking it a question about Gypsy, Dee Dee, whatever. But start using all these videos, referencing all these videos, because that's gonna push that out there. Gypsy cannot come back from these. She can't. I'm just showing you one instance. Okay, she replied, she answered, and Becca just mentioned that, the way she said that it was trauma response. And Becca was flabbergasted. I just watched that episode. Becca was like, I can't believe she responded, Because that's the thing. Every time she responds, we can just challenge her response. She can't go anywhere. She can't go anywhere. She can't escape this. It's coming full for... You know what Gypsy is now? Remember that old cartoon, Dudley Do-Right? And they tied the girl to the train tracks. And that guy with the mustache is standing next to the... She's that girl tied to the train tracks, and the truth train is coming right for her. Yes. Plum, cray. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Plum, have you been paying attention to the chat down there? Because I'm curious about this Whitney Duckworth. I want to know your impression of her. Yes, roasted and toasted. Okay, so I showed a little bit at the beginning of the database, the different groups in the database. The input I need from you guys. Okay, I just want to know, I don't want to accuse anyone. I just based on Whitney, when you were in here before, the things that you were saying made me Ponder. I'm not completely suspicious of you. I don't know you. But here's what we do have. We have a lot of trolls planted here. We have a lot of Trojan horses. We have a lot of fake people that say they're anti-Gypsy, but they're not. They are actually working with Gypsy. They're on Bree's side over there. All right? We know they're here because they have to be here because this is their job. Every single one of us that's doing any kind of good content on Gypsy, exposing her lies, exposing, because that's what Gypsy can't have. If the public understands they were lied to, the public's gonna deal with Gypsy. And that's happening right now. So, something like a database that's just going to sit here on the web and hold all kind of information for the public and make it public. You think Gypsy's not concerned about that? I'm not saying, you know, I'm the be-all, end-all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that for 2 years now, I've heard, we got to do something. We got to deal with her. The only way I know how to deal with something like this is do what I'm doing right now. Yes, but do you see, Sammy, I planned this for the past year. I didn't really think about doing the database until probably about a year ago. You know, I was following this, and I was over here on TikTok, and I was watching all the drama and everything, and what I understood from understanding, like, political shenanigans, political provocateurs, drama, that they create drama, they stage and manufacture drama to distract our attention from things. So coming from that level, you know, I saw what was going on with all of this over here. It was just all nonsense. And it was, I've always believed it was to discredit anybody doing good work on Gypsy. Anyone exposing her. Okay? Always believed that's where it came from. Also, to keep attention on Gypsy, because Gypsy needs attention on her at all times, because she's got to work the public. If nobody listens to Gypsy's long victim story, it doesn't matter. You know? She needs the public, she needs our attention. Well, Bethy, I did make 8 cents on my last live, so I got that. But that won't even buy me a candy bar right now. Now, if I get gifts and stuff, any money that I do make over here or on my JFK Annie account, it goes to, like, buying subscriptions to the websites. Because a lot of these newspaper sites, I want to collect every article ever written about her. A lot of these news sites are behind paywalls now, and you got to subscribe. Sometimes I can get like a deal where it's $1 for a month. But like my Springfield, I pay $15 a month for that, to collect all of that. So anything I make over here goes towards the research. I don't think I'll ever make enough to request a FOIA, but you know, that's why you guys really have to start promoting and pushing everybody that's getting these FOIAs. Bree is unfortunate. That's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah, she's unfortunate. See, people always say, you know, that Gypsy's paying these people. One, Gypsy doesn't have any money left. She doesn't. And so I see the next thing, she's not going to be able to come back from these videos. Her family's not going to be able to defend the videos. After watching all these videos, maybe I think a lot of questions are going to be about 2011 and what 2 people are peeking in. Hey, don't peek in, come on in. Okay. No one can defend these videos. All they can do is do what follow Gypsy's lead. So Bree's going to go out. This was trauma. This was coercive control. Nick was controlling all of it. You know, in her book, when he says he was scripting her, okay, Gypsy, give me the scripts. These videos have been in legal evidence for years. Prosecutor had them, everybody had them. All right? They didn't go into your trial because you didn't have a trial. You took a plea deal that was offered to you based on false narrative and lies. The public didn't know that now. They know it now. The public understands now that you manipulated their empathy and their sympathy by lying about your mother. All right? So, now this is going out. Everybody knows it. Everybody's going to start asking questions about VisionCon, what you were doing with these personalities, because you weren't just using them to groom Nick. You had them before. You used them with Dan Glidewell and other men. Then they're going to ask why in 2009 when you joined VisionCon, when everybody thought you were 13 years old, but you were actually 18 years old, and you were lying and pretending to be paralyzed and pretending to be mentally slow, what made it okay for you to send naked pictures to those older men at VisionCon? What made it okay to do that? They're going to ask that question. And then they might ask, why did Gypsy send 10-year-old Mia Dan Glidewell's Facebook account when she was having a BDSM fetish roleplay relationship with him? When she was taking her mother's prescription pills to him? When she was running off to be with him? What? What was that all about, Gypsy? So they're going to compare that with these videos that talk about giving your 13-year-old daughter away. They're going to compare that. That's why you're all of a sudden talking about Dan Glidewell, that you didn't have sex with him. You barely kissed him. That's not what Dan Glidewell said at Nick's appeal. That all came out too, by the way. Nick's testimony came out with the appeal stuff, just like these videos came out from the appeal stuff. Don't know, Platypus, but it was a reason. Here's what that shows. Gypsy was not afraid to show what she was doing. Gypsy was not afraid for them to find those secret accounts where she was doing all this role play. Gypsy was not one bit afraid of people knowing what she was doing. If you're doing something nefarious, you keep that quiet, don't you? You know, okay, why did she have a secret Facebook account that Dan somehow magically found if she wanted everybody to know about it? Yes, Plum, there's a lot going on at VisionCon, and I'm going to do a whole series on that. Okay. So, I just wanted to be on here to read that tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a much longer one, because my phone isn't fully charged, and it's like messing up on me. Exactly. Into the Weeds has a relative right now in jail for rugs. And she got like long sentence, more than Gypsy did. Yes, Sammy, Dee Dee was the prisoner. After 2011 and all that went down, Dee Dee was terrified. Just like Gypsy says in her book, they're on equal ground. Gypsy's not afraid of Dee Dee. That's not what equal is. Dee Dee was afraid. Here's what Dee Dee knew after 2011. Gypsy is capable of violence. And Gypsy wants her dead. And Gypsy is hanging out with a bunch of people that are not reporting that they're lying about her age and her wheelchair stuff and her medical. Dan and all those people, they're not reporting them for the fraud. Why? Were they doing something illegal with Gypsy? So if Gypsy's running around with people that are doing illegal things and they're not reporting Gypsy for the fraud, do you know how terrified Dee Dee was? How alone she must have felt? How would you feel if your daughter pews you, chases you around the house with a dagger, yells at you when you're in the bathroom attending to your wounds? Would you lie for this girl? After you're in the hospital, lie that it was some guy at Walmart? Knowing that you did lie and protected her, and this girl wants you dead, and she's running around with a criminal element that's on parole themselves. Would you not think, hey, I'm in danger here. I am in mortal danger here. Exactly. I definitely want to get into that Carly Gregg. I have not followed up on her. That case, something's going on there with that stepfather. You know, Plum, like I said, I don't ask for your donations. I don't ask for gifts and stuff like that. But I do want your support as far as follow this account, share it. Share this account out, share my lives out, because I'm gonna put this over on YouTube so people can watch it over there, because the lives go away over here. I can't post my whole live over here, but I can post it over on YouTube. I'm gonna put my lives and other people's lives, like, you know, Becca, all that. I'm gonna put those in the database, in that group that's called Web Resources. I'm gonna put all my lives over there. So, you know, I'm going to start downloading the TikTok videos if they permit that. I'm going to put all them over there. Basically, consider this a warehouse, an encyclopedia, like a Wikipedia about Gypsy Rose. And it consists of multiple groups, so I can fill all those groups with data. That's another thing I wanted you guys to start thinking about. Go over to the database and look at all the groups. And if you can come up with that, if you see something that I've missed, like, hey, you should build a group on this topic. See, like, the images has a group because there's thousands and thousands of images. So I didn't want to put all of that in, like, if I just make a thread in the database, you know, it would be too hard to have thousands. You can't maneuver. You couldn't find it. If I make separate groups, you can find the information easily. If you're looking for an image, go over to the image thing. If you're looking for part of the official evidence, go over to the digital evidence group. If you're looking for something that Gypsy said, go over to the Gypsy in her own words. If you're looking for anything about Nick, anything related to Nick, go over to the Nick Godejohn data dump. You see the method to my madness? I'm trying to simplify everything, put it in one place, and then you guys can share that all over the web. That's what will change the dynamic. That's what will change AI. That's what will change the narrative about Dee Dee. That's why I didn't call it the JFK Annie Gypsy Rose database. I called it the Claudine Blanchard Public Resource Database, because the whole intent is to change the narrative they built around Dee Dee, because that was all a lie. We've got to stop talking about it, debating it. We've got to throw it away. We've got to purge it off the web and replace it with the truth. Now, I'm not saying Dee Dee was an angel, but Dee Dee did not medically abuse Gypsy, so she's got to stop. We got to make them stop using that. There is no evidence from birth to 14 when they moved away of any medical abuse. She did not doctor shop. She did not. She was trying to find out she had real symptoms, and she was trying to find out what was wrong with her daughter. All of these doctors did not medically abuse They did not do any procedure on her. Any. Just because Dee Dee told them to do it. That did not happen. So Perez having Ryan on, and Ryan still pushing that bullshit, that needs to stop. That's where Perez is going to be a detriment and not good for this. And quite frankly, people, you don't need Perez Hilton. He needs this. He used those videos to go viral. Okay? We've been on here for 2 years talking about all of this. We knew what was in those videos. A lot of us have been talking about it, commenting, posting everywhere. Perez is not your social media hero. He's not going to be the hero in this. He's using this to make money. So, and he's playing both sides. That's bullshit. We've been doing that for 2 years. Well, let's listen to the other side. Remember Bree coming up on everybody's, we can agree to disagree about Gypsy, but we can be civil with each other. No, I am not going to be civil with anyone who has continued the lies about Nick and Dee Dee. No, you do not get a redemption arc. You do not get my tolerance. No. I'm closing anyway, Lorianne. Like I said, I haven't eaten dinner yet again. Yeah. Ryan knows once Gypsy's gone, he's gone. Okay? He's going to be like the cast of The Real World. Does anybody know their names? Remember their names? He was on a reality show. And I don't see, actually, the Lifetime show staying on Hulu, because if enough of the public writes to Disney, the parent company, and threatens to delete their Disney accounts and boycott them, do you really think that Disney's going to keep all the Gypsy stuff on Hulu? See, that's what you all need to do. Use your power as a consumer. You are a consumer of all of this media. Go to Disney and start linking these videos to their corporate office. Say, hey, you got Lifetime spreading Gypsy Rose Blanchard's lies. All right? It's right there sitting on your Hulu. 3 seasons of it. It's Prison Confessions and the 2 seasons of Lifetime. Go to Disney and say, hey, Gypsy made these videos saying she's going to give her 13-year-old daughter away. All these sexually explicit videos. The Ruby video where she talks about torturing people. Okay? Remove that Hulu stuff or we will cancel our Disney account. Look what happened with, what's his name? What's his name? Not Jimmy Fallon, the other guy that they took down. He's back. Okay? So, anyway, I'll come back tomorrow night and I will do a longer live. I might start a little later because I think I'm going to go, into the early morning hours so that the people in the other time zones can catch it. But what I want to do tomorrow night is turn my phone around and start showing you what I'm putting in the database. But then I also want to give you guys time to come up on panel on Saturday nights and talk about everything that she's done, happened that week. So if some of you want to come up tomorrow night, after I do the database update, I'm going to do 2 or 3 hours of you guys can come up on panel and discuss all her responses to the Perez stuff, how you feel about that, And then this is going to be an educational site to basically outline strategy for the truth movement. That's what this is going to be. And you're all going to be a part of it. Don't sit down there and think that it's just mine and I'm controlling it all. I do have control issues. I'm not going to deny that. Okay? But that's just me legally protecting the things I create and I'm attached to and that I'm responsible for. But, all of you guys do have input. And your input is valuable. If your goal in any way is to expose Gypsy completely and get her off the internet, then you have valuable input and you're a worthy part of this, okay? So I want you to give me your suggestions. Okay, Mariah, start thinking about it and, you know, I'm not, will you guys tell these people I'm not mean? Yeah, if you are a Gypsy troll and I know you're a troll, sure. I'm not mean to you, I'm just sarcastic. Because I want you to show your ass so that all of them see you. So that when they see you running around the web, what I want to do is systematically take her power away. And her only power now is her little goons, her flying monkeys. So we need to identify all her flying. That's another thing. If you guys know the names of the profiles they use, if you guys have been following this, and you know, like, Sheena has multiple accounts. She even admitted that they have multiple accounts, all right? Try to collect these, who they are. And I will make a whole place, I'll make a whole channel over here on TikTok where we post up their profiles. I will make a channel, I will make a thread over in the database where we post, that'll be in the social media manipulation. We post up all their fake accounts so that people know who they are over here on TikTok. Okay? There's a lot of things you guys can do because you're surfing this and you're watching videos I have not seen yet. So you guys can be my, basically, soldiers. You're out there collecting all this information. Okay? Exactly. Okay, so, like I said, I'm starving. And I don't know what I want to make. Maybe some soup. Resting bear face. See, and another thing I need to know, some of you guys have multiple accounts, and you come out in here, and I don't recognize you. So, you know, yeah, I'm going to start basically challenging the chat. Like, if you come in here and I don't know, I've never seen you before, I don't recognize you, I'm going to just ask you, who are you? How'd you find me? Why are you here? You know, that's just a simple question. Please tell me if you're pro-Gypsy, anti-Gypsy. Now, I'm not going to waste my time debating pro-Gypsy people. But they're still going to come in here because that's all they got. They've got to watch us to see what we... See, I'm giving you strategy. So they've got to come up with a strategy to combat our strategy, but they got nothing. That's all... Okay, all Bree had was, Becca's a homophobe. No, she is. That's all they have, is going personal. So, well, I'm going to do a lot about the FOIA. You know, I think the FOIA is bringing a lot of new people. So, you know, and that's what we're going to have to remember is some of these people are brand new. So I'm going to try to be tolerant and less aggressive, but, you know, just bear with me. Shannon. Yes, this was one of my backups. I'm building multiple backups. I'm going to build about 10 or 20 backups because they keep getting my JFK account taken down. So, but I'm pulling all of my Gypsy content over here because I want a lot of attention to go to this database. I want this database to go viral. And I want everybody that's searching for Gypsy content to find this database because all of you, every single one of you, every content creator that is exposing Gypsy is going to be represented in that database. I talked about, like, Becca's going to be there, Into the Weeds, everybody that's getting these FOIAs. I also say, too, if you guys know the original people, because a lot of FOIAs were released last year and this year, and I don't know who got them. Like, I know Into the Weeds, and I know that Myra. So, but, like, if somebody else requested these FOIAs and put them out there to the public, please get me their names so that I can credit them in the database, okay? Because that's what we need to do. A lot of you people are sharing this now, and you didn't get them. You didn't, you know, they were given to you, and you're making content on your channels. You need to credit the people that gave these to us. Okay? So great. Try to find that information out. Any information that you think is valuable for the database, get to me. So next week, I will try to get the phone. I'm going to give this whole database is going to have its own phone so that you can call me or text me. I'll put all of that up next week as it grows. I want everything over here because this needs to go viral. You want to deal with her? We need to link this all over to her name. And this will link everybody. It'll link Becca, Into the Weeds, all of you over on TikTok that are doing thing. When they go to this database, they will see all of you. I'm just putting it in one place so that they don't have to go all over TikTok and look for you, or all over YouTube and find the good content. I'm going to put it there. Share this and go, there it is. You want to find okay, in this chat, I'll say something that Gypsy said, and somebody down there will say, or I'm in another live, and somebody will say, she said that? Yeah, here, go over to Gypsy Rose in her own words. That's where she said it. This is all legal evidence. That's all this is. Even if it never goes to a court case, doesn't matter. This is legal evidence that convicts Gypsy. Would have convicted Gypsy in 2015, convicts her still today. So we need to get that to the public so that they can understand why they think Dee Dee is a monster. The only reason anybody out there on the web thinks Dee Dee Blanchard is a monster is because they framed her that way. They built that monster. Nothing is true about it. Okay? So, let's do the work. Let's start doing the work and stop following the drama and the bullshit. Let's do the work. Okay? If I have 10 of you, I can get this done. But I have to be able to trust all of you. Yes. That's what I'm doing. I'm putting Ashley Baby, Becca, okay, the one I have about the prison emails. Everybody online that I can find, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook, on anything. Anyone I can find that is reading these emails or explaining them or posting about them, they're going to be in that group in the database. All right? So if you want to know something about the prison emails, specific, go over to that group. It'll be there. All right? If you want if you want me to expand on a specific part of this, a specific part of the evidence, that's what you can do over here. You can say, hey, Annie, where can I find this in the Greene County report? Where can I find this statement that Gypsy made? Now, I might not have it in the top of my head, but I will go find it, or I can show you where you can look for it. Okay? Exactly, Shannon. Get real and get the job done. I don't want to hear one more time. I don't want to hear she's dangerous. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear any complaining, whining. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear, Annie's smart, but she's mean. She really needs to work on her personality skills. This isn't about my personality skills. This isn't about if you like me. This isn't about if I challenged you on something and now your butt hurt. This isn't about that. Okay? This is about getting Gypsy off the internet. For me personally, my internet belongs to me, and I'm sick of looking at her. I'm sick of letting her lies go by unchallenged. Okay? So, if that's what you want, like I'm hearing all the time, come join me. You're welcome. If you're here, subterfuge, trying to get something to discredit me with, that's not going to work. Because I don't care. You can't discredit the truth. Because this isn't about me. So when anybody listening to me starts hearing negative stuff about me, like, I'm mean, I'm arrogant, I'm rude, I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know anything about this case. Well, I might not know anything about this case right now, but you know what? By the end of the time that I have this built, I'm going to know a buttload about this case. just like all of you. So if anybody's out there gatekeeping the information, telling you they're the expert, question that. Question what they've given you over the years. Question it. And if there's stuff that they have not given you, wonder why. Well, actually, Shannon, the original investigators do. They know everything about this case. And they are talking to Becca. So, this is getting out there. It will get out there, guys. You have access to the information. All of you have access to the information. And I'm going to put it all here. The Greene County report, all the FOIAs, they're all going there. All right? No, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I've studied Kennedy since I was 13 years old. I've maintained the first JFK groups over on FB since 2011. I don't know everything about Kennedy. You can ask me a question and I can probably show you where to find it, because I know where everything is. But, you know, Mae Brussel always said, this material, this information is not hidden from you. It's not a secret. It's out there. You just got to go read it. You got to go look for it. And the same applies with Gypsy's case. All this information is here. It's always been available. You just need to go read it. You need to access it and you need to read it. Okay, now I don't know what you mean by discarded them in her favor. That's actually not true. These videos, the prosecutor had them, okay? For some reason, there had to be a reason that he pushed that lie out. This is the lie. Gypsy lived in a prison with her mom. That was the prosecutor lie. Because that told the public, once she accepted that plea deal, here's what the public thought in their heads. They said, well, the prosecutor gave her the plea deal. That means he's seen all that evidence. You know, he's seen the evidence that she lived in a prison with her mom. The court has seen that evidence and accepted it, so they gave her the plea deal. No, the court never saw any of this evidence. They saw the plea agreement. The prosecutor, I don't know what he saw. I have no idea what he saw. But he implied to the public that he did see this when he made that statement. So if he did not have the evidence that would have proved Dee Dee had Munchausen, Gypsy lived in a prison, that was a lie. He lied to the public. His job is to protect the public from Gypsy, not to protect Gypsy. So more attention needs to be paid of why he gave her that plea deal. Exactly, Sonny. It was an election year. That plays in. Yes. More important to me is why Dan Patterson stopped the fraud investigation. The minute he gave her that plea deal, he stopped that fraud investigation because all those investigators had all of this. And they were pissed. And those are the people, I think, I can't be definite, but I'm pretty sure, my gut is telling me that those are the people that are talking to Becca right now. And they're going to be in whatever project they make. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to close this for tonight. I went a half an hour over my time limit. And I will do a longer one tomorrow. Like I said, be prepared. I'm going to invite you up on panel to discuss the whole week, like how she's reacting to Perez. I'm interested in that. Any other things that you guys have been following along that I have not seen. Your reactions to Perez, what you think, you know, like how he took it, where he talked to Ryan and Bree and Shin and all that. You know, I want to know your input on that. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We don't need Perez, and anything he does is not going to matter. Because he has a certain reputation on social media himself. So It's not going to harm any of it. It's not going to harm it. Okay? The public, here's what you got to remember. The public isn't stupid. They're not. The public is not stupid. And Bree and Gypsy and all of them are not going to be able to fool the public. They're going to see right through it. Okay? So, I am leaving now. I know I said I was leaving a half an hour ago, but I am leaving now. I'll come on tomorrow. I might even wait till 10. Yeah, I do, because I think Becca's going live tomorrow. So I won't go live till after she's done. Okay? So, good night, everybody. Thank you. Again, I appreciate all of you for putting up with me and tolerating my crazy. I get it, you know. I really do. I really do. I might not say it enough, but I really do. I enjoy and appreciate my core group down there that I know this is going to happen. I know that you're really sincere, and, you know, I know that this is worth doing. So, like I say, even if I have 5, 10 of you, you know, like I say, everything's going to help. This is going viral. She can't stop it. She's done. These videos, she's done. I thought the prison emails did her in. When these videos came out, I'm like, oh my God. And then, now when I have the Facebook stuff, oh, she's done. She's done. You know? Had I just talked about it, you know, kept this, following it and talked about it, me building this database, Gypsy. Goodbye, Gypsy. So long, Gypsy. Yeah, she's toast. Okay, good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.